Khan, Shalom. All praises to Yahawah, Bashmi, Ashai, Bashim, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Greatmillstone, and salutations to the hopeful electors pushing this truth and sincerity. So we're gonna continue about this topic, because I mentioned partly in one of my last videos concerning the adrenochrome about the wicked mind of Esau, Edom, that is ruling the earth, and how you had the whole sexual revolution. You know, one of those main figures, forefathers, ground, how you call that? Main establishers of this transformation is Alfred Kinsey, and you had Hugh Hefner. You know, it's also partly going to move in onto what they call modern feminism, but it's the mind of feminism by itself, because feminism is the exalting of the woman's position in this society, and not only in the society, in all angles, in all imaginable way. It is magnifying or exalting the woman above her purpose. You know, and these are all tactics used by the elites to cause friction, to cause family structures to be destroyed, to cause confusion, and to cause catastrophe. You know, cause for a divorce rate to spike. You know, cause for all type of affairs, adultery, or whatever type of things that are negative spring forward of this. So before I'm going to play this clip, I got a couple of scriptures on deck. I believe it is around 6-7 verses. Bear with me. I'm going to read these verses, explain a couple of things, and then I'm going to play this documentary. It says here in the book of Sirach, chapter 19, verse 29, a man may be known by his look, and wondered at understanding by his countenance, and when thou meetest him. So I will show you a picture. For the ones who may not know who Alfred Kinsey is, I will show you a picture of Alfred Kinsey. Pictures. And when you look at this man, it is not difficult to sense with what type of mind we're dealing with. We're dealing with a sick bastard that is pushing and trying to normalize pedophilia, trying to normalize the morally deranged things, which is straight up repulsive. But this man was busy with teaching or proving that the things that are deemed as repulsive, deemed as morally deranged, are actually normal and acceptable. So the scripture says a man may be known by his attire, by his outward appearance. And when you look at this man, it's not difficult. If you look at this man and you say, I see a sincere, upright, I see a prime example of righteousness, a person that is going to teach you bright things, then you lack discernment. A man's attire and excessive laughter and gait show what he is. The way how this man smiles, and the way how he, only his smile and linked onto the doctrine that he's pushing, and the way how this man smiles, the way how this man looks, the way how this man smiles portrays a sick bastard. This is a sick creature, man. Let's go on. The book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. The soul that is inside of this creature is not upright. This man has not an upright soul inside of him. And the same thing is what has been said, is what is going to be explained concerning Hugh Hefner, who was actually inspired who was inspired by Alfred Kinsey to do what he did, who also played his big role in the sexual transformation or the sexual revolution. And their videos, their clips. I believe lately, there was also there was a documentary on Netflix, but it doesn't portray completely what is taking place. A certain amount of them speak about the things that is taking place. How children are being involved and steered, and all the moral decadence that is taking place, but it doesn't portray a documentary on Netflix is not going to portray completely how this man truly was moving and the things that he was doing. You gotta, and I'm gonna play, I'm gonna show, I'm gonna re-upload all these documentaries to show people, to give people understanding about what truly is taking place on the globe and how these creatures were moving, what type of mind, what inspired them to do what they did. The book of Revelation, chapter 17, starting at verse 1. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked to me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. The great whore is referring towards America. And let me see if we got that still here. Boom. Okay, bear with me. Here. This is a spiritual, a symbolic allegory, way of speech. When you open the book of Revelation, when you go into the book of Revelation 17, the woman, the great whore, represents America, and the great whore is riding the beast. The beast represents NATO. The power structure together with Europe and America. I believe we can scroll a little bit down and we can read about it here. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And you see all these names over here. Just to mention a couple of them, because I cannot read all of them, but let's see. Okay, we see Greece, Italy, Spain, France, West Germany, the United Kingdom, Portugal, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Canada, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Turkey, United States, Poland, Hungary, and Czech Republic. And the United Kingdom left the EU. It says there, NATO, which is the beast in the book of Revelation. The 10 horns that you see on this beast represent Europe, and the beast itself, together with America riding it, is called is the beast, is representing NATO. So here you see America, Lady Liberty, so called, holding a cup, and this cup is actually filled with the wine, and the wine represents their doctrine. And what is their doctrine? What is it that they push all over the globe? They push so-called democracy, religion, idolatry, the normalization of the LGBTQ community, lies, adultery, covetous, murder. That's all in this cup. And this cup they drink, they give unto the people in America, but they go all over the globe and they feed people what is in this cup, which means they Americanizing, or the Americanization of countries, which is taking place all over the globe. So back, boom. That's why it says, I will shew unto the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. So this is actually the judgment that is going to fall on America, mentioned in the book of Revelation, and it says, which sitteth upon many waters. That is a cesspool of people, because America has all type of different nations mixed together over there. It says, with whom the kings of the earth is referring to those that are in high positions, rulers, presidents, kings. And what is it that they do? Have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of a fornication, and the wine is in that cup, that golden cup, which they drink of, and which he feeds onto all the nations all over the globe. That's why you got the normalization of the LGBTQ community. You got gay pride parades in Israel. You got here In the Netherlands, they're talking about lentekribes, the sexual education of children, spring jitters, how they completely morally destroying children, the normalization of pedophilia, the normalization of bestiality, or the decriminalization of these horrible things. And one of those things that I saw, was Uganda. We got Magnus. But we got Uganda anti-gay bill. So you got countries rising up who don't give in. They don't allow America to infiltrate and to dictate how you need to be and how you need to think and how you need to deal with this wickedness. Because what America is doing, they're actually corrupting the minds of the people. And if the minds of the people is corrupt, the conduct will be corrupt. It's talking about the destroying of any form of morality, moral codes is what America is doing. Here you see the anti-homosexuality bill. This is a good thing. This is a beautiful step. This is resistance. This is you taking a stand for your traditions and what you stand for, and not allowing that whole madness to go all over the globe and just taking it and accepting what is being said. This is one of the most famous interviews. Why you gay?
We bring in the studio this morning one of the gay rights activists, Mr. Should I call you Mr? Pepe Julian Onzima. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for
Good morning. Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay. You are a transgender.
What shows that I'm gay?
You are a transgender,
Yes,
and you're a
I am.
gay rights activist and an outspoken lesbian, homosexual. How can I describe you? Now, we're looking at the raging debate. You're a gay rights activist. Why should someone be gay? You're having a girlfriend.
Yes.
Do you perform the natural obligations?
I'm not sexually active right now.
So what are
By
you doing with
choice.
this lady?
By choice.
By choice.
I've just not. I've chosen not to engage.
Doesn't that make you gay?
What do you mean? Doesn't that make me gay? I am male and attracted to a female.
So who is gay?
But you hear the confusion, right? It is, man, boy. In the book of 1 Corinthians, the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 14, verse, I believe it is around 33. For the Most High is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. The Lord is not the author of confusion. When you have a person a man talking about he identifies as a female, but he is attracted onto females, and how I love the way how he worded it. You're the natural obligations, but you're not dealing with that woman. What are you? That's some straight up mad confusion, man. Mad confusion. Words cannot express what is being pushed and what is being steered into the mind of the people. It says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of a fornication. They're drunk with this crazy, lewd philosophy, this doctrine, and it's causing mad confusion. It's causing confusion in adults, it's causing confusion in children. You got children undergoing chemical castrations, children who identify as girl and identifies as boy, and boy identifies as girl. You got furries, you got you got everything. You got everything on this earth, and everything needs to be accepted. If you speak out against somebody's pronouns, if you don't respect how a person identifies, then you might be expelled from your position, or you might be just punished for not going along with the confusion and the madness. It says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns, which is talking about NATO. I showed it. The woman is talking about America sitting upon the beach, that is the representation, the power structure together with NATO. Of names of blasphemy. So the blasphemy is being pushed, is propagated all over the globe. And for the ones who may not know what blasphemy means, I can quickly show you the meaning of the word blasphemy by going into the Strongs of the Greek.
Strong's G 988, blasphemia. Blasphemia.
It says, railing, evil speaking, slander, detraction, speech injurious to another's good name, impious and reproachful speech injurious to divine majesty. So it is speech, it is a doctrine, it's a philosophy that is reproachful towards the divine establishment, the divine guidance, the divine guidance. You know, anything that goes against it, which is the whole LGBT community, or however you wanna call them. Boom. Going on. It says, and the woman was arrayed in purple and a scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, and full of abominations and filthiness of fornications, which is talking about the philosophy. And you see, it is abominable and filthiness and fornication. Fornication goes into illicit sexual acts, which are unnatural affections. Man with man, woman with woman, man with beast, man with children. This is what is being pushed in this whole empire by the rulers. It says, and upon her head was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And why is it also mentioning the mother of harlots? Because it's teaching the normalization of whoredom. And when I talk about whoredom, I'm talking about whores, I'm talking about bias, I'm talking about gigolos, I'm talking about all of the friendlies and foul creatures that you can imagine on this earth. Was the scripture in was it 19? I believe it was in 1929. It says, do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. And that's what you see. The normalization of decadence behavior, twerking, you know, just laying with different type of man. That this is what is being pushed. Ecclesiastes chapter 10 verse 13. When you go here, the mind of this Alfred Kinsey, when you're going to understand the mind also behind Hugh Hefner and the mind behind all of them, like the same way the ones that are pushed for the whole doctrine of abortion and feminism, the whole mind, even with, like, you got Margaret Sanger. Many people may not know about Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger quotes. This female had some sick, deranged quotes. For the ones who may not know it, it says, this is a quote, one of the quotes of Margaret Sanger. And Margaret Sanger was one of those establisher together with I forgot his name, but it's going to be mentioned in a documentary of a Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is abortion clinics, one of the strongest pushers and programmers and stimulators of the committing of abortion. So this is what she said: the most merciful thing that a large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. The mindset of murdering your child and deeming it as woman empowerment to do what the woman can do. because the child is actually deemed as an obstacle for the woman in achieving what the serpent, what the deceiver, what the trickster on this earth makes possible for the woman. It is womanhood, the taking care of the household, and a child, the bearing. Childbearing is actually the blockade for a woman to live lavishly, to live free, to do what she wants, to sleep with different men, to chase so-called a career job and be a baller, to be like a man. That is what's blocking it. So their solution is just kill it. Just commit abortion, kill that child, and when that child, that problem, that stumbling block, that blockade is taken away, a woman can just go and do and live the life, can live carefree, you know. And let me see, I can show you one of those quotes about, man, Goodreads. Let me see. Let me show you what she said about Margaret Sanger quote on black people. Where is it? We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. Just understand the mind behind these people and why it is that mainly our women, you know, our nation, our sisters are falling for this trap. Because first of all, the mind of our sisters is being completely diluted by all these puppets that are being used to corrupt their mind. A Cardi B, a Megan Thee Stallion, a Beyonce with all the so-called single independent women lady songs. You had Sierra making straight up garbage. But these people are programming just poison in the mind of our sisters while they are striving, or many of them have a husband. Many of them have their place to come home to and be with their husband while they imprint all type of poison in the mind of our sisters. Be single, independent. You don't need a man. Niggas ain't shit. This is all print in the mind of our sisters that many of the sisters don't understand, but they just fall for it. They just go along and they warring against their own brother. You know? It says we do not want. Let's get this, man. Let's go. It says we do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population, and the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members. Just trying to understand the mind. You need to understand the mind of who is in power and what they do. Here you got Hillary Clinton. I admire Margaret Sanger enormously. I am really in awe of her. So just so that you understand who you're dealing with, man. And these Clintons, the Clintons are some notorious murderers, rogue type of people. But let's just go on. Boom, boom, boom. So Ecclesiastes 10 verse 13, the beginning of the words of his or her in this case, you know, Alfred Kinsey, his, Hugh Hefner, if you would have heard what inspired this man to do what he did. His mouth is foolishness, and the end of his and her talk is mischievous madness. It's madness. It's ludicrous. It's total psycho. But hey, it is Esau. What can you expect? What did you expect? We're dealing with Esau, Edom. This is the mind of the devil. The book of Psalms, chapter 94, verse 20, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law. So everything which they do, they need to have everything in their pocket. Everybody needs to drink of this philosophy. So they will take care that they have the judges. They will have lawmakers in their pocket, Politicians need to drink of this doctrine, and politicians need to defend it. A prime example is today, you have this group, a political group here in the Netherlands, which at least is taking a stand against this evil. You know, Forum for Democratie, if I'm not saying it right. Yes, Forum for Democratie, also known as the FVD, you know, and a Thierry Baudet, he at least is mentioning about what is taking place on this globe. And if you see the reaction of people within that whole, I actually call it a political circus, because I truly don't take it serious, man. You know, the minds, if you just sit and you look at what these people do, and he's I have to say he's doing good things, but when I look at the whole situation, the whole circus, and how they react and how they treat him when he mentions things, I understand that this is a circus. That is a very vexing thing to see how people are completely just sick and deranged and not fighting against the evil that is spreading, you know. But that shows you how this whole political establishment actually is, man. I never trusted it. I never voted in my whole life, and I never will. When people will say like, you should go and vote, I will not vote. I have no faith. I have no trust. I don't put my trust in what they do over there. Like how George Carlin said, you know, and you can look it up for yourself. Like, this is George Carlin. Because people have a tendency to say like, yeah, but if you don't vote, then you have no right to complain. I have every right to complain, because I didn't vote in for those incompetent, ludicrous creatures to represent me. They don't represent me. They're nothing. I have nothing to do with them. You know, George Carlin about voting. Yeah, voting is meaningless. George Carlin doesn't vote. You should watch this clip. Go and watch this clip and get on the level of what this man means when he says he doesn't vote. You know, and get understanding, man, because this system is just full of doo-doo. So shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law. So shall this empire be joined unto the empire that the Heavenly Father is going to establish upon this earth? The answer is no. Because this empire is framing, is justifying, is pushing and establishing the acceptance and the execution of mischief by the way of law. Now, the things, all the studies which have been made possible and allowed, lawfully allowed to do, which Alfred Kinsey, he had his own institute, his own facility, and he even recruited pedophiles to do certain acts towards children. All lawful. Yeah, all lawful is now being used as science towards the children, as the sexual education. So it is a whole program right now being pushed towards the people and deemed as science, while it is established by pedophile, by sex predators, by Edomites, by devils, man. It says they gather themselves together against the souls of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood. They condemn, they chase, they prey on children, they prey on everything. Nothing is safe. Nothing is safe in this society, in this wicked empire where the nation of Edom is ruling. They're not fit to rule, man. They're not fit to rule. So the book of 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 6, this goes in onto the whole programming concerning the feminism, the normalization or the indoctrination of abortion, the committing of abortion. You know, that promiscuous spirit that is being pushed on females, twerking, lawless, deranged conduct. You know, no self-respect, no dignity, nothing, man. You know, but they just do all these things. And even when you ask them their body count, they have been laying around with so many men. They will lie about their body count. There's no pair bonding because the seed of different men is inside of them, so they cannot pair bond. There's just when you look at the estate of women these days, they have been so they fell off so low to the point that they really represent themselves as nothing but sex objects. Their conduct, their mind, their speech is nothing more than merely a sex object, because that is what the system has taught them. This is the new normal. This is normal. Anybody that doesn't go along with this way of being is not exactly not being deemed as normal. A virtuous woman mentioned in the Bible is something which is unachievable for them, but they will display themselves as that. They will say, I want a man, needs to have 6 figure, needs to have a certain body, needs to do this and that for me. But if you just look at what they bring to the table, how can you even take people serious these days, man? The book of Exodus chapter 23 verse 26, there shall nothing cast their young, nor be barren in thy land. The number of the days I will fulfill. So when the Bible says nothing cast their young, it speaks about you shall not commit abortion. Because the committing of abortion is straight up murder. The Heavenly Father said, thou shalt not kill, you shall not commit murder.
Strong's H 7921, Shachol, Shachol.
To be bereaved, to make childless, miscarry, make childless, to cause barrenness, show barrenness, or abortion. So you're not allowed to commit abortion. There's no justified reason, because some might say like, yeah, but it depends on the situation. Well, but if, but there's no justification of murdering and taking somebody's life. Especially that of a womb, a child growing up in the womb of a woman. And then, man, I don't even want to go into the whole process of how an abortion, how a child is actually being deleted, man. The book of Titus chapter 2 verse 3, the aged woman likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not giving too much wine, which are drunkards, teachers of good things. So an aged woman is supposed to teach young girls growing up in how to conduct and how to be a woman and how to become a woman. And a righteous woman can teach a righteous girl to grow up into a righteous woman. The importance of women or girls growing up with a father is a key thing. It's a key thing. You're going to find out that girls growing up without the guidance and the discipline of a father grow up to become just straight up loose cannons, sleeping with all type of men, promiscuous. They have no guidance. They have no guidance. And what takes place is that the energy that they lacked is the energy that they want to seek or that they want to display. So they will conduct themselves in some masculine type of energy, which is not the energy that they should be in. You know what I mean? So 9 out of 10 times when you see a woman, a girl that grew up without the guidance of a father, they're destroyed. They're traumatized. They're mentally destroyed, and many of them know it, but they will deny it. Many of them know it, but they will deny it. They're destroyed, man. It says, not false accusers, not giving too much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young woman to be sober, to love their husband, to love their children. Key things. The woman needs to be sober. The young women need to be sober, to love their husband, to understand order, to respect the natural order, to respect your husband, to understand that there's one captain on the boat. When you communicate with your husband, that you have to listen, to love their children, and that's also a thing. Nowadays a relationship might end up wrong, and there might be children involved, and this woman might see the resemblance of the husband inside of the children, and she will channel her hate that she had towards her husband, towards her children. These things is what you see nowadays on this earth. To be discreet, to be morally understandable of keeping things within or between each other. That is something that is not inside of the mind of these females. You know, what you will find out on this earth today is that people take things, run things, add things, ask questions, and they want answers from those that are living a miserable life. You know, misery loves company is the statement that people love to make, right? Females have a very demonic mind if it's concerning somebody else or giving advice, because most of them are miserable. Most of them are completely poisoned and injured by the poison that is being pushed by society, by music, by the so-called stars, singers, Cardi B or whatever garbage they love to listen. The mind is completely corrupt. So if the mind is corrupt, the conduct will be corrupt. And if they will give counsel, any form of advice, it will be poison. It says, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their husband. Key things. You tell them obedient to their husband, they be like, no. He don't own me. He don't own me. You know? What is that other one from Eddie Murphy concerning, what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? Like as if the man was put on earth to provide, to do for the woman, and the woman can just go around, do whatever she wants, and that the man should be running and just as if the man was created to serve the woman. This is what feminism and what this poison on this earth has done with the mind of females and girls and women in this society, man. It says that the word of the Most High be not blasphemed. So the word of the Most High cannot be blasphemed if you walk in righteous order, if you respect the guidance of the Heavenly Father. The book of Proverbs 31 verse 30, it says, favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, because many will fall for beauty, you know, but even in this society, you know, we got favor is deceitful, but even the minds of those that are on a certain spot don't even understand what truly is taking place, you know, because everything gets corrupted. Eddie Murphy made a beautiful example about how he said, like, I'ma find myself a bush bitch in Africa and take her over here. But as soon as you take her over here, she gonna hear the conversation of the westernized women, and before you know it, this bush bitch gonna ask you, Eddie, what have you done for me lately? So even the bush bitch is going to be corrupted by the wine, which I mentioned in the book of Revelation 17. That's the wine. The wine is going to corrupt even the mind of a bush bitch that is normally in Africa, and they're more humble because they're not corrupted by this poison. But as soon as you want to bring it over here and it's amongst the poisoned mind, it will get poisonous. It will get sick. You see, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. A woman that fears the Heavenly Father shall be praised. And that's, man, hey, who can find himself a virtuous woman? Her price is far above rubies. A virtuous woman in this society is like a needle in a haystack, a woman with a moral compass, a woman that understands her purpose, her role, and knows to respect her husband, loving her children. Man, don't even try. That's why many of us already be in the spirit, like, we just wait, because in the kingdom, the mind of the women is going to be righteous. Right now, they're destroyed. They're sick. They're traumatized. They're lost. They do everything for money. They have no moral compass. They have no understanding. Everything is about pleasure. They don't even know what they do. Many of them don't know. You got, and I'm not talking about the righteous sisters in this truth that are searching and pursuing righteousness and sincerity and in truth. I'm not talking about y'all sisters. I'm talking about those that don't understand, that don't know what is taking place in the globe, that don't fear the Lord, that are being guided by society, by the rulers, that don't understand about the sexual revolution, they don't understand about feminism. They don't understand these things, you know. So, boom, last verse, and then we're going to jump into the fifth. The book of Tobit, chapter 8, verse 6. Thou madest Adam and gavest him Eve, his wife, for what? For an helper and a stay. The Lord created Adam and gave Eve unto Adam as a helper and a stay. of them came mankind. Thou hast said, it is not good that a man should be alone. Let us make unto him an aid like unto himself. An aid is a helper. That's why the scripture says, he that getteth a wife beginneth a possession. You know, a pillar of rest. That is what a woman is supposed to be. But nowadays, they're not a pillar of rest. They're a pillar of stress. They don't respect, they don't fear, they don't obey their husband. And I have to say, there was a video circulating of this Ishmaelite type woman. You know, she had a head covering, and she mentioned like her husband is her master. If her husband tells her this and this, she listens. And that is the mind that a woman needs to have. So in certain how should I say it? In certain traditions or certain religions, or actually these are actually taken from our Bible and right now also being applied in their religions. You know, and that's why you got certain traditions like if a person for example in those places commits certain atrocities, you have how you call it? Man, I forgot the name of it, man. I believe it is called, you know, a revenge, honor, revenge, something like that. Oh man, let me see. Man, you know, when they actually do. No, I can't find it. But it actually goes into how if a woman, for example, commits adultery, you know, and in the Bible it also says that female is supposed to be put to death. You know, eerwraak, yeah. Engels. Honor killing. Well, that's what I actually. Okay, but it's honor killing. Like when you got certain daughters, which supposed to marry with a man, and then they go up against it and they marry with somebody else, and they bring shame to the family. That woman is put to death. You know, and that is in the Bible. If you do things, there are crimes punishable by death. But because the wicked is ruling, we cannot immediately execute all these things. So we have to suffer certain things. The Lord might pass judgment onto people as well. You know, so boom, 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 everything being dropped and said. Now I want to show you this. You know what? I'm just gonna link it. I'm just gonna put it in. You know, I'm going. Actually, what shall I do? You know what? I'm gonna end this vid, and then I'm going to play that clip, the beginning and the second piece, because this is about 20 minutes. Or should I play it right now? You know what? I'm going to play it right now, man. You know, I'm going to play it right now. Check this out.
I met up with Dr. Judith Reisman, a world historian in the destruction of human sexuality. Dr. Reisman is recognized as an expert witness exposing the sex industry's hidden agenda.
Playboy
Magazine.
sued you, or you sued Playboy?
No, Playboy sued me for libel and slander.
And what happened?
I won.
She's fought the pornography industry for decades and even won a lawsuit against Playboy.
So how did we get here to where we're at today? Because I don't think pornography has always been such an epidemic cancer within our society like it is today.
No, not at all. We were, up to the end of the Second World War, a conservative Judeo-Christian nation. The turning point for all that was Dr. Alfred Kinsey, his book, Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, 1948. He was the father of the sexual revolution, and therefore the father of everything that has come from that. And certainly one of the key things was pornography.
Dr. Alfred Kinsey ushered the destruction of our nation's moral code with his books, Sexual Behavior in the Human Male and Sexual Behavior in the Human Female, known as the Kinsey Reports. The world recognized him as the leading scientific expert on human sexuality. The reports claim that humans were sexual from birth, and that what we deemed as immoral sexual behavior was actually normal, thus making it moral. Once a biologist who studied gall wasp, Kinsey's obsession with sexuality led him to found the Kinsey Institute for Sex Research at Indiana State University. What people to this day are not aware of were the methods he used to collect his data.
And I looked at the graphs that he provided, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34 tables, and I said, wait a minute, that's a 2-month-old baby. How does he know a 2-month-old baby did or did not have an orgasm? And then table 34, a 4-year-old child, 26 orgasms in 24 hours. That's an around-the-clock experiment.
Wow, that's torture.
That's torture, you bet. He also actually employed bona fide pedophiles to do what they did to children for his so-called data.
Kinsey wanted to prove that we are sexual from birth, so it wasn't surprising that he drew his data from pedophiles, rapists, and murderers. They were the perfect sample because obviously a rapist pedophile will have a skewed perspective on sexuality, convincing himself that his victim finds pleasure in the act of being raped. Using a stopwatch and a ledger, they recorded their sexual experiments, systematically molesting thousands of young children under the guise of science. This research was compiled in his books, Sexual Behavior of the Human Male and Sexual Behavior in the Human Female.
He said I had 196 pre-adolescents under 12, and he broke them up into 6 categories. And fainting, convulsions, screaming, writhing, striking what he called their partner, that's somebody who's raping them, okay? And they were trying to get away, but he said they enjoyed it. They definitely enjoyed it.
The research in Kinsey's books were partly based on the collection of data and confessions of a Nazi pedophile during World War II, Dr. Fritz von Balusek, who raped hundreds of children. After the war, the Nazi officer was charged and put on trial for the murder of a 10-year-old girl. They found detailed records of von Balusek's heinous sexual acts with children, revealing his correspondence with Kinsey. Dr. Kinsey, who was fully aware of the Nazi officer's atrocities, warned him in his letters to be careful and encouraged him to continue his research. During the trial, the judge said, "I got the impression that you got to the children in order to impress Kinsey and to deliver him material." To his surprise, Balusek replied, "Kinsey himself asked me for that."
Now that became the foundation for the sex educational structure that fed itself into what we are teaching our children right now as we sit here and speak.
I venture to suggest that what we are putting into our books on sex education today is based almost fully upon philosophic guess.
And of course it was the foundation of all the changes in our laws, the sodomy laws, the abortion laws, everything else. I mean, he's there. His handprints are on everything that deals with sexuality. From all these people, he was able to tell us, quote, the truth about ourselves, the truth about what we were really doing behind closed doors. And he lied about our fathers, my father's generation and grandfathers. He lied about them because he projected onto them what he himself was doing.
What he was struggling with.
Yes.
It didn't take long for Kinsey to deceive the world with his fraudulent data, convincing us that we were sexually repressed and ignorant to the truth.
First, the media drank the Kool-Aid, and they were carefully taken care of by the Kinsey Institute to drink the Kool-Aid, okay? And then once they drank the Kool-Aid, the scientists, quote unquote, drank the Kool-Aid, and then the legislators drank the Kool-Aid, and then the lawmakers drank the Kool-Aid, and here we are.
Essentially, what Kinsey did was he changed our belief about ourselves. This change of belief naturally changed our behavior. Soon, Kinsey's ideas permeated everything in our society, from our legal system reducing the penalty for sexual crimes and legalizing abortion, the media promoting his philosophy to the educational system, teaching children his views on sexuality. What's more, the pharmaceutical industry capitalized from the sexual revolution. We saw the emergence of STDs, sexual enhancers, and the morning after pill. The divorce rate soared along with sexual crime. As a people, we would never be the same again. Our innocence was lost forever. Ultimately, Kinsey's fraudulent data led to the legalization of pornography.
One of the virgins in college that read Kinsey and believed him was a guy named Hugh Hefner. Okay, yeah, so he's in college.
So Hefner was an advocate for Kinsey's.
He reads Kinsey and he says, hey, everybody's been lying to me. They've all been diddling around doing all this stuff, and I have been standing here being a nice guy. Forget it. He says, I will be, and I'm quoting him, Kinsey's pamphleteer. I will be Kinsey's pamphleteer.
Really?
So from there, he began to advocate for changes in the law, and he created a magazine called Playboy, which then he said would reflect what Kinsey had found about human sexuality.
In his fraudulent
data. America was educated by a pedophile whose work was labeled as science. Just as Darwin was the father of legitimizing evolution, Kinsey was the father of legitimizing the sexual revolution and all that's based upon that today.
Sure enough, Hefner was true to his word. Not only did he popularize pornography on a global scale, he also helped to legalize it.
I want a congressional investigation of Kinsey. At some point, we may, in fact, be able to get a public to be aware that they've been raped. The whole nation has been raped. That is what's happened to us. We have been raped, and you cannot expect to survive a rape without a great deal of illness, pain, and trauma. And we've gone through it. Now we've got to find a way to get out of it.
So whatever happened to Kinsey? Well, this glorified psychopath eventually died of a slow and painful disease called orchitis, a lethal infection of the testicles due to years of brutal masochistic masturbation and other vile sexual acts. How ironic. The preacher of sexual liberation died from following his own message. Sadly, his destructive work continues to live on with his lies, and to this day, we continue to fund the Kinsey Institute with our tax dollars. Now, for any man who's trapped in pornography, he must first realize that the root of the problem is based on a lie by Kinsey and a lie from the enemy of his soul. You need to realize you've been duped. You've been suckered, because ultimately, Kinsey's purpose was to remake man into his image, which really wasn't a pretty one.
So now it jumps off into feminism, or I believe the piece of Hugh Hefner was already explained.
The pro-life movement is a war on women by the patriarchy, or so we are told.
Oh, I think the war on women is real.
The war on women has exploded.
It's an ugly new battlefield in the war on women.
The war on women.
This war on women.
The fight to protect women's right to choose is the most fundamental and patriotic fight that we have right now.
Are we ready to fight against male supremacy in all its forms?
The abortion lobby tries incessantly to claim the mantle of women's rights, empowerment, and equality by portraying childbearing as an obstacle to empowerment. Recently, we've seen abortion advocates latch on to imagery from The Handmaid's Tale, a story that frames our ability to bear children as a means of enslavement by patriarchal forces. But if we look at the actual history instead of fantasy, we see that pro-life, pro-family feminism has been carrying the torch for women's empowerment all along. It is the sexual revolution and the abortion movements, both largely driven by men, that have waged the real war on women. Let's begin our story with the 1950s and early 60s, that period of time which is often criticized as the epitome of women's oppression under a patriarchal system.
I'm not going to let a woman talk to me like this. This meeting is over. Good luck, Miss Megan.
In the 50s and 60s, women did face genuine problems of inequality and oppression, lacking the opportunities that men had to excel educationally and vocationally. In the workplace, it was common to hear of women that were fired simply for being pregnant. In her landmark book called The Feminine Mystique, a feminist named Betty Friedan, who herself had been fired for being pregnant, issued a war cry for equal opportunity for women in every sphere of life. The Feminine Mystique has some serious problems, but here's what I want to point out. Betty Friedan claimed that the reductionist view of women as just housewives was a bad idea, but not a bad idea of traditionalism or Judeo-Christianity, but of atheist Sigmund Freud. Furthermore, Betty never mentioned abortion or contraception as a means to liberate women. She said that creative work would set women free, and that this was always inclusive towards marriage and motherhood, though Betty herself would later admit she did not emphasize the importance of marriage and motherhood as much as she should have. Betty became leader of the National Organization for Women, and her initial stance for women's equality, which excluded abortion, was consistent with the early feminists who came before her. Alice Paul, Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and other suffragettes, those heroes of feminism, agreed that abortion was wrong, but they also saw it as a sign of female oppression, often used by men to control and abuse women. Standing against Betty Friedan's women's movement was the sexual revolution, epitomized by Hugh Hefner and his Playboy magazine. Hefner's vision for sexuality was popularized among women by Helen Gurley Brown, who had wanted to work for Hefner until she got the opportunity to transform the homemaker magazine Cosmopolitan into a sex magazine, a Playboy for women. She featured nude centerfolds just like Playboy and an icon of a pussycat after the articles just like the Playboy bunny icon. Helen wrote the book, which became the basis for the modern hit TV show and films Sex and the City. Helen's solution for women was that hard work and lots of unmarried sex without getting pregnant would set them free. This philosophy came to life in The Cosmo Girl, this ideal woman portrayed in Helen's magazine. Only the Cosmo Girls were often complete fabrications. The writers were given a set of rules or guidelines on how to invent their stories and how to make up experts to quote. Then they told these lies to unsuspecting women as if they were gospel. The Cosmo Girl was little more than a money-making scheme, a marketer's and CEO's dream come true. She worked hard, she bought lavishly from pharmaceutical, medical, beauty, fashion, and travel industries, and to top it all off, she did not push for those pricey, bothersome extras like family tax breaks, paternity leave, shorter work weeks, and more flexible work arrangements.
I'm talking about a woman's right to choose.
Through her magazine, month after month, in many subtle ways, Helen sent the message to America's women that motherhood and children were an insurmountable obstacle to their freedom. Betty Friedan called Cosmopolitan quite obscene and quite horrible. Betty opposed treating women merely as sex objects, and she defended motherhood and the family. Betty said, "You want a feminism that includes women who have children and want children, because that's the majority of women." So how did the sexual revolution of Hugh Hefner and Helen Gurley Brown take over the women's movement of Betty Friedan? Answer: 2 more men, white and upper middle class, whose goal was to legalize and mass market abortion all across America. Larry Lader and Bernard Nathanson were abortion advocates who would go on to found the abortion advocacy group NARAL, which still exists today. Lader's goal was the complete repeal of abortion laws as a means to controlling population growth and upsetting sexual morality. He was the biographer and good friend of Margaret Sanger, founder of Planned Parenthood. But Lader's ideas on abortion were so radical, even for Sanger, that it fractured their relationship. It wasn't until another man, Alan Guttmacher, took over Planned Parenthood that the organization began publicly advocating the mass legalization of abortion. Abortion was mainly an upper middle class white man's practice, and Lader worked hard to push it on the feminists, knowing they could promote it even better than he could, if only they'd buy in. In Aborting America, Bernard Nathanson records what Lader said to him at their NARAL meetings. "If we're going to move abortion out of the books and into the streets, we're going to have to recruit the feminists. Friedan has got to put her troops into this thing. Well, she still has control of them. We've got to keep the women out front, and some blacks, black women especially. Why are they so damn slow to see the importance of this whole movement to themselves?" Just as Helen told
Black women especially
lies to sell the Cosmo Girl, Lader and Nathanson told lies to sell abortion. As Nathanson would later confess, "We sensationalized the effects of illegal abortions and fabricated polls which indicated that 85% of the public favored unrestricted abortion when we knew it was only 5%. When we spoke of deaths due to illegal abortion, it was always 5,000 to 10,000 a year. I confess that I knew the figures were totally false. But these lies were so effective that later was able to win over many people, including Betty Friedan. On November 18, 1967, in the Chinese room of the Mayflower Hotel in D.C., Betty insisted that abortion be inserted into the National Organization for Women's platform. Abortion was adopted by the votes of 57 people, after which a third of the women at the conference resigned from the National Organization for Women. Larry's lies and propaganda even made their way into the infamous Roe v. Wade decision, with his book Abortion being cited no less than 7 times in the court's opinion. After abortion on demand was legalized, the rates of abortion and divorce skyrocketed, while birth rates dropped and marriage rates plummeted. Today, Americans commit about 1 million abortions per year. That's 2,700 preborn children killed every day, and more than a third of abortions are committed by Planned Parenthood. Seeing trends like these even back in 1981, Betty Friedan wrote a follow-up book called The Second Stage, expressing her regrets that the feminist movement had demonized the family. Bernard Nathanson left his position at NARAL, converted to Catholicism, and became a pro-life activist, producing one of the most important anti-abortion films of all time, The Silent Scream.
There is no question this child senses the most mortal danger imaginable.
But let's think back to the beginning of our story, to one of the moments that first stirred the fire in the soul of Betty Friedan when she was fired for being pregnant. To say that abortion was a solution to her pregnancy is, in essence, to agree with her boss. It is to say that her pregnant self is the problem, that her natural ability as a woman is the problem, and that her child is the problem. Abortion has done nothing to correct the oppression and inequality that women in these situations face. It perpetuates it. Abortion is an excuse for men, businesses, and communities to neglect, exploit, and discriminate against women. Rather than support the mother and her child, they forcibly divide the two, pressuring the mother to have her child killed. Abortion is the ultimate manifestation of the oppression of women, and women and children cannot be liberated in society until abortion is unthinkable. Telling women they must have the ability to take the lives of their children in order to achieve fulfillment is not empowering. True feminism seeks to promote all aspects of who a woman is, in her education, in her vocation, in her marriage, and in her motherhood. For it is that commitment to a holistic view of women and children in all of their personhood that will truly set us free. For more on the story of how the sexual revolution hijacked the women's movement, see the book Subverted by Sue Ellen Browder.
So yeah, man, this is what I quickly wanted to bring out. Shalom.